All right. Well, with that, I noticed that we have some people trickling in. So good morning, everyone. My name is Stephanie Roy. If you haven't met me yet, I am the manager of employer relations at CPABC, and it's my distinct pleasure to introduce you to today's Career Week workshop on the topic of building professional confidence. We hope you're as excited for this workshop as we are, and we invite you to introduce yourself to our presenters over in the chat to your right. You can use this chat feature or the Q&A feature throughout the session today to engage with your peers and ask our guests questions. If you're experiencing any technical difficulties during the event, you can visit us in our tech support booth over in the Career Expo, or you can send a message to Angela Fong, Linda Hinks, or myself, send Stephanie Roy in the People tab or direct messages, and I'll be happy to answer your questions. Just want to note that this session will be recorded today, so we will not be inviting people to join on camera. But like I said, please use the chat and Q&A feature freely so that we can engage with you there. And the recording of this session will be over in the replay area, which is on the left-hand side navigation at the very bottom later on today. And without further ado, please allow me to introduce you to Chris Shoel, Karina Ontaneda, and Megan Chua, and they're all from Impact Recruitment, and they will be leading us through the session today. So without further ado, over to you three.
Amazing. Thank you so much for the introduction. Hello, everyone. I can't really see anyone that's here because I'm sharing full screen right now, but thank you so much for coming. Today, we are very much excited to have a chat with you about building professional confidence. Here, we're just going to talk a little bit about ourselves and then get ourselves started as well.
So yeah, as Karina mentioned, welcome. It's great to see you guys virtually. I wish it was more in person, but that's the way the world goes nowadays. The agenda for today's presentation, I'll just go through it quite briefly, as you guys can see it on the screen at the moment. So we're just going to be doing some introductions slightly shortly after this. We're then going to be going on to self-identification, gathering some feedback regarding confidence, professional confidence versus arrogance, and what those differences are. Confidence equaling A+ communication. Practice makes perfect. Top tips to build your confidence at work, as well as a question and answer kind of session at the end. And yeah, I will introduce myself first of all. My name is Chris Shoel. I am a senior recruitment specialist over at Impact Recruitment. I joined here in around October time after moving from the UK. I specialise within accountancy recruitment, so anything from kind of entry level accountant roles all the way up to kind of senior level. That is my forte. I have been in the world of recruitment for over 7 years now for my sins. But yeah, really, really looking forward to hearing some of the questions and answers that you guys have after the seminar.
Awesome. I'll go next then. So my name is Megan Chua. I'm a recruitment specialist here at Impact as well. I also work on accounting with Chris, and I work more solely on the junior accountant position. So, your junior accountants, any accounting clerks, AR, AP clerks, positions like that. And yeah, I've joined Impact in December, but I've never worked in recruitment before. So this is also relatively new to me, but yeah, I'm looking forward to meeting everyone here.
Thank you for that, guys. And I guess the last one will be me. My name is Karina. I came to Impact about 5-7 months ago. It's been an amazing journey. I'm currently a recruitment specialist with Chris and Megan. I focus in public practice, kind of all levels, starting from very staff junior levels all the way to senior managers. Very much always looking forward to having conversations with people, learning a little bit more about their backgrounds, about their goals, and what are they looking for any kind of future opportunities. That's a little bit of what we would summarize the work that we do in public practice. But yes, let's go to our next slide before we begin.
Awesome. Yeah, so just a little bit about us. We're essentially a recruitment agency who aims to connect top talent with top employers across Canada. Our recruitment services expand across multiple divisions, including corporate, building, IT, and legal. So we don't only just kind of focus on accounting, but other kind of niches as well. And so we've also been ranked as Canada's fastest growing companies, and we believe it is us due to us committing to our top three core values, them being quality, integrity, and honesty. And so this kind of translates to how we view our clients and candidates as humans and not as transactions.
Perfect. So just for us to get a bit of start in terms of what does it mean to build confidence. In order to be confident about something, we believe it's very important to know yourself first. What makes you you? What makes you be the best in something? It may be some cases not the best at something else. And that's what we define as self-identification. You identify what are things that you're really good at, the things that you enjoy, the things that make you smile every day, that motivate you to go to work. And they come from a lot of different places. You can be liking to do maybe project management. You might like, in this case, to be an accountant. You like maths, you like understanding the logic, and that takes a lot of skill, a lot of problem solving, a lot of maybe taking the initiative to be able to go around and understanding how the world works. And that's definitely something that over time, with a lot of experience, it's going to come. You're going to understand this is the things that I really enjoy. And on the other side, when you want to understand a little bit of who you are, that also comes with things that maybe you're not the best at, things that maybe you don't like. We do definitely in the recruitment sector do see a lot of people coming in with us and telling us, I'm looking for this kind of opportunities. I would like to be able to get to this kind of management position, but I'm not really sure kind of where to start. I don't really know what is that will make me the best employee, the best person for the job. And at that point, having those conversations about like, okay, so what do you think are the things that are not kind of in your favor? And a lot of people can be very blunt and be like, you know what, I am not the very best at presentation. I don't really good at public speaking, even though I'm great for the math. I'm really good for like getting those reports out, but not the speaking with people. That is definitely totally fair. And it takes a lot of courage to be able to stand up to people and say, hey, I might not be the best for this one, but you know what, it is something that I'm currently working on. And on that side is, how do we even get there? There's a lot of process that come from when you sit down and be like, hey, Karina, what am I thinking? What am I really good at? What am I not really good at? What is that going to make me understand myself a lot more? And I think that definitely comes with a component of you gather feedback. Other people, sharing the way they see you, sharing the things that they feel like make you a lot of strong in one field, maybe not the best at others. And this opinion can definitely come with different places, like family, friends, other people that are around you. They see you 24/7. They know you. And kind of going back to the example that I mentioned before about the person that wants to get that promotion. If this person already knows or feels that he might not be the best at presentation skills, or probably speaking skills, and maybe a family member comes around and be like, hey, you're really good at doing maybe this. You're not maybe the best at delivering big presentations. Maybe you're the best at doing like pitches. So then you start kind of seeing, oh, maybe I saw myself in a very different light that I was kind of expecting. And that definitely can bring a lot of confidence, not only to your skills, but then kind of realizing there's a lot of other avenues, because sometimes you're only stuck with your own perspective that you can't really see. And that is actually pretty amazing, because that means that you get to exploit all of these things that you can potentially be good at and improve the things that you are not really feeling confident about. Chris?
I've just realised I'm on mute. You would think after 2 years we would have sorted that issue out by now.
I know. I thought it was my connection. I was worried.
Thank you for sorry. Yeah, thanks for that, Karina. So yeah, confidence versus arrogance. So let's be honest, there is a very fine line between both of these. As a recruiter who interviews candidates, clients, and everything in between on a daily basis, I see this fine line on a daily basis. Not because people actively want to come across arrogant, but due to people wanting just to show the best versions of themselves in an interview setting. And this can definitely translate to other parts of day to day life, including professionally and personally. What I'm trying to say is that confidence and arrogance are so similar that they can be disguised as one another, which is why communication, delivery, and how you portray yourself in certain environments come into play. Confidence is a mindset of readiness and can be one of the most powerful tools to have in a professional setting. Confidence promotes an efficient work environment as well as career advancement. But not only this, you can come across very knowledgeable and more knowledgeable and better at something than you actually are in reality. I'm sure we've all heard of the saying, you can talk the talk, but not walk the walk. In short, this saying actually means that confidence is such an important tool that for you that you can actually speak and deliver with confidence. You can portray yourself in a much better light than what you would without this. In the same breath, it is also very important not to cross over to the side of arrogance. Arrogance, like confidence, is behavioral, and coming across this will actually give you the opposite result as what confidence would. In a professional setting, crossing over to arrogance will give negative connotations towards your work, as well as the overall reputation. I mean, no one really wants to work or collaborate with someone arrogant, and especially if you're in a very kind of team player environment, collaboration is key, and that is going to set you up for failure. Now, this is much easier said than done. As I said before, there's a very fine line between confidence and arrogance. But this is where communication and body language become key players. And in this slide, where kind of A plus communication comes in hand. Now, professionally speaking, confidence is all about believing in yourself, believing that you are capable of the role or task at hand, and communicating that can be done in many ways that are obvious to you and I. However, they're not often used effectively. When I think of what confidence, I strongly believe is body language, perception, and a few points come to mind on how to portray this. First point would be eye contact. Now, a very important technique that doesn't get mentioned as much as I believe it should. Now, it is human instinct when speaking to your friends or your peers or even family members or anyone in general that you don't look at someone dead in the eye constantly. That comes across quite intimidating. And it's the same in a professional environment. I mean, I'm not saying, when you're speaking to someone, look away from them or look at the floor, but try and surround other people, try and kind of group other people involved. You make people more inclusive within your conversation, and that will come across less intimidating when you're kind of staring someone down or having a staring contest with your manager or or peers. Second one is posture. Now, having a straight posture, sadly, it doesn't automatically provide you with an unlimited supply of confidence. However, having a straight back and having posture, you can use this to your advantage. Your voice travels much further than you actually think, and it actually comes a lot more clearly once you actually recognize your posture. This will assist in grabbing command of the room, and it will be a very friendly, open, inviting way when you're doing this. Other forms of communication and confidence are preparation. We've all heard the saying, fail to prepare, prepare to fail. This goes hand in hand in confidence. Feeling underprepared, whatever it may be, whether it being an important interview or an important work meeting, the more prepared you are, the more confident you will appear. Or, as a minimum, your decision process skills will be far greater. And finally, delivery, which is an extension of preparation. We've all seen effective delivery being used. Let's take comedians, for example. Comedians take the stage and tell their jokes effectively because they approach it in a way where it attracts their audience and it grabs their audience. I mean, I'm 100% telling you that I will not be able to deliver a joke as well as what a comedian would, but bringing this back into a professional setting, communication and delivery of whatever you're saying will keep your audience hooked and and will allow you to speak in a more clear and concise manner. Now, there's a lot more tips and methods that you can see on the CPABC website or even on our website, but I will pass the stage on to Megan, who'll share some more of her findings.
Awesome. Yeah, so obviously, as Chris mentioned before, professional confidence isn't something you can build overnight. Obviously, unfortunately, it does require time and practice. And obviously, as the popular saying goes, practice makes perfect. And this is very important because when you're kind of entering a unfamiliar environment, whether it could be an unfamiliar stage or unfamiliar audience, it can be a very daunting experience. And the last thing you want is to like freeze up or blank out in the middle of your interview or presentation. So it's very important to practice any kind of upcoming presentations and interviews with people who you feel safe with and in a very comfortable setting. And this is because it kind of creates that low barrier environment where you can, make as many mistakes as you want. And, there aren't really any kind of huge consequences to it. And so usually the most popular way people, go around practicing these interviews or presentations is through their friends and colleagues. And as Karina touched on before, these are people who you're very close with in your, social circle. So you already built up that trust and rapport. And that way they're very useful because you feel comfortable around them and they'll be able to kind of give you that raw and honest feedback, without holding anything back. But on the other hand, if that's kind of not accessible to you, it's also, useful to reach out to recruiters like ourselves because, on a daily basis, we speak to, so many different candidates and clients. So especially for, interviews where you're meeting with a specific company or a specific hiring manager, it can be useful to work with a recruiter because, if especially if the recruiter has worked with this hiring manager or company before, we can kind of give you the insights to a company, regarding, let's say company culture or what the hiring managers like personalities are like, which can be very useful in your, upcoming interview. And yeah, and that's not the only way you can build up confidence at work. Here on this next slide, we've also outlined some other top tips on how to build your confidence at work. And, just in the interest of time, we won't have time to go through each and every one of them in much detail. But I'll just outline the ones that really worked well for me personally. So from personal experience, I can say one of them being like leaving your comfort zone and embracing new challenges has been very useful for me. Just because, when you're entering a new job or when you make a career shift, it can be kind of challenging because you have the basic skills and everyone wants to kind of build on those skills. So in a workplace, you'll often be given the chance to participate in career development opportunities, whether it be, speaking at a conference or, mentoring any of your peers or giving a big presentation at work, things like that. So I think it's very important to take on these opportunities so you can just build upon your foundational skills and you can, think in the long term as well. As Chris mentioned before, it's very important for, let's say, promotions as well, because, when you're asking for a promotion, you can kind of mention that you did all these things. So, you're kind of up above from what you were before. And yeah, and I guess the second tip that really worked well for me as well is to be able to emulate confident peers. So especially, for example, like when I started here, I really looked up to people like Chris and Karina. They've been here longer than I have. So it's, they are people who have been in the industry longer than you, and they can provide this industry knowledge that's, people outside may not have because it's very specific to your own experience. And all of these people have been here before. So it's kind of creating that bond as well with your team to be able to, grow with them as well. And I guess the last tip that has been really useful for me is to be able to learn from your mistakes as well. So don't expect this kind of journey of building confidence at work to be smooth sailing. Obviously, there's going to be bumps along the way. You're going to make mistakes. So I guess the important part here is not to dwell on these mistakes just because it can, start to get into your head and you can start overthinking and that would cause, further mistakes down the road. So I guess the way you should tackle this is as I mentioned on the previous slide, make sure you get as much practice as you can in. And so when you receive constructive criticism from your peers and recruiters, you can turn it into things you can act upon and improve on in your next interview or big presentation.
Thank you so much for you guys for letting us know all these tips and all this experience that we had so far. Right now, we're going to go to our Q&A section. We have here our Q&A code as well. So you want us to follow us and learn a little bit more about the kind of resources, the kind of opportunities, and some market updates that we keep posting on our sites as well. And also feel free to go to impactrecruitment.ca/jobs to be able to find those amazing opportunities that we continue to post and across different kind of levels as well. And it's always interesting to kind of see what's out there and be able to learn how the market is doing. So right now I'm just going to stop sharing really quick. Perfect. Thank you so much for that, guys. Yes, like I mentioned before, if anyone has a question for us, more than happy to answer them. Someone wants to kind of pop out and ask us, or they can send a message here. We are always more than happy to answer that question as well.
Awesome. And while people are including questions for you in the chat and the Q&A on the right-hand side, I'll also mention that if you didn't get a chance to catch the QR code, you can also head over to the Career Expo and find the Impact Recruitment booth. And on the right-hand side of their booth, there's actually a register interest button. And if you click on that, it will send them your contact details and they'll be able to keep in touch with you after the event. So I highly recommend that you make use of that. And then also while we're waiting for questions to come in, I'll just mention what I already mentioned in the chat, which is that they still have some advising appointments available for tomorrow. So if you are interested in getting a little bit of one-on-one time with the Impact Recruitment team, you'll also want to go to the Career Expo, visit the Impact Recruitment booth before 1 p.m. today. The schedules are closing at 1 p.m. But you can go in there and reserve a 15-minute time slot to talk further about building professional confidence with these guys. So thank you again for the session. I haven't seen any questions come in yet. But I can say that I'm a person who has quite a bit of professional confidence, but even mine can wane from time to time. And you guys have some very good refresher topics that made me reflect on my own the way I project as well. So thank you so much for that great content.
No, thank you so much for having us here. Yeah, I guess we'll stick around for a little bit. If anyone does have any questions, again, don't be shy. You can always send them on the chat, and again, we're more than happy to answer them for you.
I see that we do have a question in the Q&A, and this one is actually directed to you, Chris. The question is, coming from the UK, how are you helping those with ACCA get considered for CPA as a CPA? So we actually do have quite a few people who may be coming from other countries that are interested in pursuing the CPA designation. So how would you advise candidates who are maybe newer to Canada?
Very good question. And yeah, I mean, the differences in terms of accountancy kind of regulations between the UK and Canada, for example, I mean, there's not a huge difference. However, the accreditation is different itself. I have heard that there are ways for you to transfer an ACCA into a CPA. I'll be honest with you, I do not know the full legalities of that, as you probably would need to speak to kind of an education advisor or something regarding that. But there are ways for you to transfer your education. I don't know if that stems down to the designation. I'm not sure if you may need to kind of resit the exams at all, but I do know that you are able to kind of transfer things over from certain countries to the other. So if that's someone like yourself, if you have an ACCA and you're looking to kind of go down the CPA kind of route, I would try and speak to kind of an educational advisor. Try and speak to them and see what their recommendations are for that. I have heard that there are ways. I don't know how challenging it is, and I think there probably is a cost to it, as everything is, well, else is in this world at the moment. But I definitely think there is a way for it.
Yeah, and just to kind of add to Chris's point, in public practice, we definitely see people that are trying to get that accredited. As CPA here in BC definitely has, it says a lot about the person's investing time and energy to kind of be able to get that designation. We come across a lot of candidates that they are looking to get that validation for their ACCA to get into a CPA. It does take some time. From my understanding, I do believe you have to take the CFE. But the CPA website is, from my experience, has a lot of information, very much detailed exactly what you need to do. And people there are more than lovely. They will walk you through everything that you have to do to be able to get that validation. But yes, not impossible. It's really nice that you're able to have that validation, and it's not that hard compared to other kind of designations across the world. So yeah, like definitely feel free to reach out to CPABC.
I think it also depends on the region as well. So it depends on the province that you're based in. I think that the province regulations are different in BC than they are, for example, in Ontario. So depending on where you're based, it could be easier. I think on Ontario it's slightly easier for a transfer from the CCA to CPA, but I think it depends on kind of which university and things that you come from. But thank you for that question, Andrew.
I have another question for you guys while we keep an eye on the chat and the Q&A. So in terms of like this event, this is a virtual event. We sometimes host these events in person. No matter whether it's virtual or in person, there will be people who have like some major nerves about coming on screen. I know imposter syndrome is super real. So what would you recommend for, let's say we have somebody in the audience who is a little bit shy about coming on camera and having chats with people in the booth later on today when we have the Career Expo from 4 to 6. So just like how we're talking here today, anybody who's listening in, you're invited to actually request to join on screen when you visit the booths in the Career Expo later, and you can have these conversations. And I know it's a little intimidating if they walk into the Impact Recruitment booth and 3 of you are there, and it's just like, oh my gosh, I'll be on the spot. So what would you recommend for somebody who might be a little bit nervous to turn on their camera and initiate a conversation? Like, where should they start? Any advice for people who are attending this event and how they could present themselves online?
Yeah, I mean, it's a tricky one because everyone is so different when it comes to, public speaking and, speaking to people that you don't know. I mean, it can be quite intimidating, even to people that you don't know, like in real life, going to a restaurant or going to an event or something and speaking to someone just randomly is quite intimidating itself. But I always like to think, I mean, it helps me to whenever I'm kind of speaking, especially in one of these kind of instances, or even just at work, public speaking to the company, is that, everyone is just a human being at the end of the day. I mean, we're not here to catch you out. Like, I mean, if someone has a question for me, I mean, I'm not here to kind of ridicule that question or kind of to belittle that question into thinking, that's really, really silly. Why did you ask that? No question is as silly, or no question is small enough to answer. But I definitely think it stems to what Megan was mentioning in our previous slide, which is preparation and practice. Practice makes perfect with this kind of thing. And the first couple of times, I mean, I'll be honest with you, I was I was not as comfortable as what I am today. But yeah, over practice and over time, it gets much easier. But yeah, I always like to think is that you're just a human being at the end of the day, and that's kind of what helps me kind of get through.
Yeah, you can. I know it can be a lot of pressure, but just let the pressure go. I'll even recommend that you go check out some of the replays that we have posted. The recordings for our workshops actually start about 10 minutes before we kick things off, as soon as we enter the booth. So you'll actually see me and Chris chatting, and Chris was just saying how, this was his first public speaking engagement through Impact, and that he was a little nervous, but did a great job. And that's just it. We are all human, and you can actually see, I came on and we had a little bit of chat, a little bit of banter. You don't necessarily need to be get right to the point about the jobs and things like that. I'm sure these guys would love to get to know you on a personal level. So, talking about the weather, talking about, I was talking about how my dog was going up to the dog nannies earlier. People want to get to know you a little bit. So don't feel shy about sharing a little bit about yourself. And the more you get to know people, the more opportunities will present themselves. So you got to start somewhere. Another thing that I will mention is that we have employers exhibiting in the Career Expo, and we have recruitment firms like Impact Recruitment. So if you do have some nerves, I always recommend, why don't you pop into the recruitment firm booths? As Chris was mentioning, they're really here to support you in your career journey. So there are no silly questions or anything like that. And you can get your nerves out of the way by talking with some recruiters who might have some pointers, or they might be able to book some appointments with you for tomorrow. And you can get that practice in with the recruitment firms before you have an interview with an employer. So they can really help you build up your confidence as well.
No, totally fair, Stephanie. I think last event that I went, I was really curious about the booths. So I just decided to, I think I chose like 3 to 5. So I just like randomly selected them and just kind of popped into the booth. Some of them, there was like already one person speaking to the team. And I was just there, just like, I really don't want to show my face. I don't want to say anything. I just want to kind of be here listening to what they have to say. Because it's like people I never met before, and it's like I don't really know what to ask them. I'm just kind of curious to see what they can offer, what they can tell me, what I can learn here. So I think by like booth number 5, I was like, let's do it. Let's just ask something, like anything. So at that point, it's just like, it's okay. Just like I opened my mic, I opened the camera, and I was like, hello. Very awkward. And just like starting any conversation. Because I think people feel a lot more comfortable once you start opening yourself a little bit. You can ask about the weather. That is totally fair. I think a lot of people start with like, I hope that you're enjoying the sun here, or like if it's raining, because Vancouver, it's awful. It's been raining so many days. And I think slowly, once you start building the kind of like rapport, you start feeling like showing that confidence, right? Like that questions that you might have, like that doubts that you might have, you're confident about what you're saying, what you're asking as well. So it's okay if it takes a minute, if it takes a couple booths for you to be able to stand up and say something. But there's no shame in sending a message and being like, hey, I really don't want to show my face, but I have this many questions. I hope that you can answer them, or maybe just put on your mic. You don't have to show your face as well. But exactly. I think the effort is definitely something that speaks about not only your motivation, but how confident you are about yourself, and that slowly you might start opening up to that point where you're like, I'm just going to show myself and I'm just going to ask all of these questions.
That's right. There are baby steps. And I've said this in one of our CPABC podcasts before, like there are different levels that you can go to with your confidence. So if you're at the level where you don't necessarily feel confident coming on screen, using the chat is an excellent way to engage with people. We talked a little bit about it in How to Stand Out workshop yesterday. People will be keeping an eye out for your resume, or like the employers and recruiters will be keeping an eye out for your resume. But if they have also seen your name pop up in chats and things like that in virtual events, or in a real in-person setting, they noticed your name on the name tag, it'll just give you that much more of a rapport, as Karina was mentioning. And I did see a question in the Q&A about like, if a candidate is asking a lot of questions to the interviewing or on the interviewing panel, will it be seen as arrogant? And I think you've answered that, Karina, in the sense that no, you guys welcome all the questions, right? So don't be shy. Make sure to engage in the chat, engage in the Q&A feature, say hello, whether it's in the chat or whether you feel confident in popping on and saying hello in the booths later. It really does help with leaving a positive mark on people, so that when they do see your resume come through, they're like, oh yes, that's great. I met Megan at the event, and that your name will stand out. So yeah, really good comments.
I also think, especially with interviewing, so asking questions at an interview or even an interview panel is Such an important part. I cannot stress enough whenever I'm speaking to candidates, when I'm preparing candidates for interviews, as that's what we kind of do before they go for the interview, is to kind of set their expectations. That is the one thing I say to every single candidate, no matter they are an entry level person or a CFO of a company, is ask questions at the end or throughout the interview, because an interview is a two-way street, and not that many people look at it that way. They are interviewing you, but you are interviewing them. This is your job. This is a job that you're going for, and there's not another way for you to find out if this job is going to be suitable for you unless you ask questions. And it also kind of promotes that you actually are interested. Instead of just saying at the end of an interview, "Oh no, I think you've answered all my questions." I mean, at least you're actually showing an interest, and you really want to kind of delve deeper into if this opportunity is right for you.
Yeah, and this came up in the Q&A yesterday. Somebody was asking about, at what point should I follow up after an interview, kind of thing. That's an excellent question to ask at the end of an interview. So if you don't have any questions, maybe perhaps always have the standing question of, okay, what can I expect after today? What's the timeline for your recruitment process? When can I expect to hear back? That will give you a little bit of assurance, but it will, again, like Chris said, show that you're interested in the role, and it will give you an opportunity to ask like kind of a final question before the end. And I noticed that we have a really nice comment in the chat about how last year there were some presenters who were really nice about not going on, about candidates not going on camera, and mentioned that you can put a picture. So if you haven't already and you're a candidate and you're engaging over the next few days, be sure to go to your profile. So that's the little icon at the very top right corner of your screen. It'll either have your initials or your face there, and make sure to populate that with some information. You can put in your LinkedIn URL so that people can go find your LinkedIn. You can put your headshot, so if you're not able to join on camera for technology reasons or otherwise, they'll be able to see who you are. And it just gives you a little bit of personal branding there. So make sure to go update your profile if you haven't done that already. And then somebody does have a question for you about how you work over at Impact Recruitment. The question is about part-time placements. So is this something that you guys work on as well? Maybe if you can take a little bit of time just to promote your own services, let us know. What is it like working with a recruitment firm like Impact Recruitment? Do you guys service multiple industries, or do you focus on one certain area? What could somebody expect if they were to work with you guys on finding their next job?
Awesome. I'll take a crack at that. So when you work with Impact, we essentially kind of take you throughout the entire process, all from, getting the job description in, and then preparing you for any interviews, and then kind of the in between of like, we essentially work as a third party between you and the employer. So if you have any questions, or if they have any questions, we kind of act as the messenger and just go back and forth and make sure that both sides are kind of happy in terms of any expectations, in terms of what to expect when you go into a new job, any kind of doubts regarding any of the compensation that you may have. Things like that, because oftentimes when you're just applying on your own, when you look at a job description, it can be very vague. So it can be very like a terrifying process. So if you kind of work with a recruiter, we have the insights of working with a client. So we know what their company culture is like. We know what they're looking for. We know what your day-to-day will look like for that specific position or role. So we can kind of like advise you a bit better, and you can kind of go into an interview or into a job with a better I guess, image of what to expect in your daily day-to-day responsibilities. And so you can come into your job knowing that you love what you do, and this is exactly what you signed up for, instead of kind of jumping right into the deep end and just not like having a job turn out not what you expected it to be.
Yeah, these guys do a lot of research for you ahead of time, and they can really prepare you. And if you're a timid job seeker, and they can actually help you build up your confidence as you're going into those interviews. They can coach you. They can give you some talking points that they know about their clients. And so there's a couple of other questions in here. I know a question that comes up a lot is not in here, but is there a charge for a candidate that's going to work for, or it's going to work with you to find their next job? Like, do they have to pay you for this service? And I think the answer is no, but I'll let you clarify that. And then somebody also asks, can you be the client of more than one recruitment firm at once? So I know there are a few recruitment firms here at the event this week. So maybe you can talk a little bit about those two items. And I've got another question afterwards.
Okay, for sure. I'll just start then. Yeah, so working with a recruiter is completely free on your end as a candidate. You know, all we really need is your participation and communication. So if anything's on your mind or anything like that, we appreciate the honesty. Like, for example, if a job, after an interview, you find a job, it's not for you anymore, feel free to let us know and we can kind of guide you in the right direction to find a job that is more suitable to your needs and wants. Yeah, so I think it's a very like easygoing process. You know, we kind of become that listener for you whenever you have any troubles regarding your job search. And regarding how if you can be a client of one or more recruitment firms, usually we're a bit, I guess, according to our practices, we kind of prefer just to work within with one candidate, just because if a candidate is working with multiple firms, we can have the same clients as well. So it can kind of be a bit weird when we're kind of like presenting the same candidate to like two recruitment firms are like representing one candidate to the same client. So all we ask really is, you know, for that honesty once again. So if you're working with any recruitment firms, just feel free to let us know. It's absolutely okay. Obviously, you have to put yourself first, and yeah, we totally understand that. So just let us know so that we're not sending two of the same profiles over to the same client.
Recruitment firms generally have, you know, the best interest of their clients and the candidates in mind. So yeah, the more transparent you can be with the recruitment firms about how you're undertaking your job search, what other opportunities you may be open to, the better they can kind of guide you towards your next opportunity. So I always find that the more information you can provide, the better that they can represent you.
I think we do have some Q&A questions. So I'm just going to go there for a little bit. There is one question about what are some of the common questions to ask the organization? I think there's no right answer for this one. I think when I was starting to look for opportunities when I was still in college, there were so many websites that are going to tell you what are like the right questions to ask employers by sector, by kind of job. And I think this is definitely a great guide. But I think in terms of what common kind of defines, I think you should focus a little bit more in terms of what is that you're looking for. I think the questions will have to be tailored to what you want. Some people are a little bit more interested maybe in the package itself. So maybe the questions can go to like, maybe I not really focus about money, but maybe I really want those vacation weeks. Maybe I want better benefits. So the question should be a little bit, what are the kind of benefits that you offer? Do you have maybe benefit A, B, or C? You can definitely ask about the culture. That's definitely a big one. I think the best way to find it is just try to find the questions that would kind of summarize a lot more what a culture looks like. Do like employers take out their employees for lunch sometimes? Do employees go for drinks after work? This, like, again, some questions that could kind of give you an idea of what is that this company does. If employers are really close, a lot more with independent work. So again, there's not really common questions. It will depend on you and what you are looking for. And after that, then I guess it just becomes kind of common. Yes, I think there's another here between Strive and Impact. It seems like the focus is different, at least in the presentation. So I was wondering if, for example, sorry, let me just open more. If
I can start on this one and you can add to it, Karina. So the question basically is like, how do you know which recruitment firm to work with? And I would say that this is very much in line with the question about how do you know which organization is right for you, right? Each recruitment firm, they have like their own set of clients, their own practices and things like that. And I think it's important to do your research about which recruitment firm to work with, as well as which organization you want to join. Do their values and their setup match with your expectations? So if you're looking to work with a recruitment firm, I think participating in events like this is a very helpful tool for you. And like, take the time, if they're going to be online between 4 and 6, to pop in, say hi, ask them again a little bit more detail about what it's like working with you. Like, how do I get my resume to you? How do I start working with you? What is the process once you have my resume and you start sharing information with me? If you ask those kinds of questions to the recruitment firm, you'll have a really good understanding as to how they work with the candidates. And then it'll probably become clear to you which firm might be better suited for the kind of opportunities that you're looking for. So take this time right now at the Career Expo later on today to say hello, to introduce yourself, to get to know Chris, Megan, and Karina, and the other recruiters that we have here. And then, you know, be transparent, like we talked about earlier with Megan's question. Be transparent about who you've been working with, just so that they're not kind of presenting you at the same time as somebody else. It's important for them to have that information. Transparency is good, because you may want to work with them again in the future, or you may want to work with another recruiter, you know, 3 or 5 years down the road, and you never want to burn those bridges, right? So it's important to be transparent. But I'll leave Megan, Karina, if you have some things to add on this one.
No, of course. I think the best way to describe how do you choose a recruitment agency is, as you will make any decision, and it can literally be as simple as, just to put an example, you want to go shopping. There's a lot of stores out there for you to choose, and there are stores that would cater to different tastes, right? Some stores are focused for, I don't know, if you're a woman, maybe there's stores for dresses that are real expensive. There's stores that are for only jeans, maybe only for t-shirts, maybe only for like PJs. Like, it's the same thing when you're looking for an organization to work with. Every company has something different about them. There's some recruitment firms that maybe focus only on engineers. If you're not an engineer, then maybe that's not for you. And then going to some other recruitment firms, they might have a bit more of a specialty working with contract positions. Maybe some that are looking more for part-time, maybe some looking more for accounting opportunities, or again, they're very different. And I think the moment that you start checking those differences out, the same way that you go shopping, you're going to have your list and be like, this store is not for me. This store is not for me. Until you start getting to the ones that you feel like resemble a bit of the kind of process that you want to go through when you want to go through get a new job. We have gone through it so many times, and for us, it feels very much natural. But if you're looking for a new opportunity, if you have been in the job for 2 or 3 years and you look for something new, it's scary. It's just the reality of it. It's scary to, you know, maybe sneak out and have those conversations when you're in the middle of work, to go to those interviews, put to close on, learn about the company. It's effort, it's time. And you're definitely going to talk to a recruiter about it. It feels the same way that you feel.
Mm-hmm.
Do you want a recruiter to just kind of throw your resume out there? You want a recruiter to know you as a person and understand what you are looking for. And I think that's the difference between the different agencies. It's about having that conversation, learning about the values, learning about the product that they can offer you. And I think after you have those conversations, it becomes very much natural who you're going to want to work with.
Yeah.
And and at the end of the day, like, you go shopping, you go to the store, if you like what you see, you're going to go on a return. And I think that's the great thing about recruitment, is even if things don't work out the first time, because you already went to the store, you enjoy it, you want to go back. And maybe it doesn't happen the first time, maybe the second time is the way.
One question some of these folks might want to ask you guys or other recruitment firms they're talking to is, what kind of clients do you work with? So there are some, as you mentioned, Karina, there are some recruitment firms that maybe specialize in a certain area. So you might work with a recruitment firm that really specializes in accounting and finance roles, but only in public practice. But maybe you want to roll in industry, so maybe that's not the right firm for you. Maybe there is a recruitment firm that focuses on industry roles or government roles or what have you. So you want to ask those kinds of questions as well, so that you're really meeting your own career goals in the end. So we are past time now, but this recording will be live in the replay area very shortly. So I just want to thank you for that really insightful presentation, Chris, Karina, and Megan. You guys really shared a wealth of knowledge with us. I learned a few things, and I'm pretty confident myself. So I think you guys really nailed it. If you would like to engage with Chris, Karina, and Megan further, as I mentioned, please make sure to visit them in the Career Expo from 4 to 6 later today. They also still have private career advising and resume reviewing appointments available for tomorrow. So you can find the link in their the link to their schedule in their booth in the Career Expo. Just scroll down below their video screen to find the booth link so that you can book yourself into some appointments. If you're having any trouble finding the links, come visit us in the tech support booth before 1, and we'll make sure to help you navigate there. We will now take about an hour break from 12 to 1 before our next workshop on brand you, social media and your career. So how to use social media in your career search. This will be presented by Robert Half, and this session will open at 1 p.m. So we invite you to navigate to the room by navigating back to the session module on the left at 1 after the break, and you can find us there. So just thank you again, Chris, Karina, and Megan. I see a lot of thank yous coming in the chat, so I think I'm not the only one who got some value here. Just excited to see you guys later on as well.
Thank you, Stephanie. It was great to see you again.
Pleasure was ours. Have a good day, guys. Take care, everyone.
Have a good day, guys.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye.